What's up, team? This is Ro, your best friend at JMSB. So here I was asked a question for COMM 215, Introduction to Business Statistics. Let's have a look. The listing below gives the service times in minutes for a sample of customers who arrive at the drive-in service window of A&W. So we're offered a sample of 30 or some odd observations. And in required A, we're asked to construct a stem and leaf display for the service times. So a stem and leaf display is a pretty useful tool that could be used to organize sample values in ascending order. So whenever your goal is to take a bunch of numbers and to organize them from smallest to largest, a stem and leaf display is a pretty chill way of accomplishing that. In order to produce a stem and leaf display, it's really just a three-step process that we have to follow. The very first step is to identify an appropriate stem unit and an appropriate leaf unit. Now conventionally, the stem unit is always the highest placeholder in your data set, and the leaf unit is always 10 times smaller than the stem unit. In this particular case, because all of our sample values are in minutes, it would be convenient to identify the stem unit as 1 minute and the leaf unit as 0.1 minute. And now that we've done that, the next step is to truncate all of the data points to the closest leaf unit. Truncating simply means to eliminate any placeholder beyond this leaf unit. So any decimal beyond the first decimal is simply going to be eliminated. Try to understand that truncating is not the same as rounding. When you're rounding, you're either going to round up or down to the closest leaf unit. In the case of truncating, rather than rounding the value, you're eliminating any placeholder beyond the leaf unit. So to make sure you guys better understand that, let's have a look at our sample values and let's try to truncate the data points to the closest leaf unit. Let's eliminate any decimal after the first decimal. So for example, a value such as 4.91 would be displayed as 4.9. A value such as 0.85 would be displayed as 0.8. So notice how I didn't round that up to 0.9, I truncated the value, so I just eliminated the second decimal place. So the idea now is to extend this logic to each one of your data points. So 0.52 would be displayed as 0.5, 2.51 would be displayed as 2.5, 0.91 would be displayed as 0.9, and so on. So there we have it. I've truncated all of the data points. If a value such as 3.6 didn't have an extra decimal, it's obviously not going to change, but the rest of them are going to be displayed this way. So once we've completed this step, the final step is to draw out the actual display. So now we're going to display the values in our sample on our stem and leaf plot. In our stem and leaf plot, the stem is going to extend from the smallest value up until the largest value, so from 0 minutes up until 8 minutes, and the leaf is where we're going to display the individual data points. And now the idea is to look at all the values that are in the first stem that are less than 1 minute. And as we place them on our display, I would recommend to be crossing them off. So for example, in the first stem for 0, the values that are going to show up are going to be 0.2, we've got this 0.9, we've got the 0.8, another 0.8, another 0.9, we've got this 0.5, we've got this 0.8 right here. So every single value that has a stem of 0 is going to be displayed in the first row of our display. And obviously the idea is to show them from smallest to largest. So 0.2 would be displayed as just a 2. And notice how 0 times the stem unit of 1 plus 2 times the leaf unit of 0.1 equals 0.2. So the stem times the stem unit plus the leaf times the leaf unit should always be the data point. So the next value that we have is perhaps 0.4. And so in the stem for 0, I'm simply going to add a 4. We then have 0.5, so I'm going to add a 5. We then have 0.8 3 times, so we'll add 8 3 times. And then finally we've got a 0.9 twice, and so we'll add 9 twice. Now that we've done that, we're going to look at all the values that have a stem of 1 minute. And again, I would recommend to cross out the values as you place them. So for 1 minute, we have 1.9. We've got this other 1.9 right here. We have a 1.4. We have a 1.2, a 1.9, and a 1. And so these are all the values that we want to show on the second stem, on the stem for 1. How would I display a value of 1.0? I would simply put a 0 next to the stem for 1. Now I want to show 1.2, so next to this 1 I'm going to write a 2, and so on. So the idea is to list all the values that have a stem of 1 from smallest to largest. So we've got the 1, the 1.2, 1.4, and then 1.9 3 times. Now that we've done that, we're going to look at all the values that have a stem of 2. So we've got 2.3, 2.6, 2.9, 2.5, 2.6, 2.9, 2.2, and 2.9. And once again, we want to show these in ascending order from smallest to largest. So the smallest one is 2.2, then we have 2.3, we've got a 2.5, we've got a 2.6 twice, and 2.9 3 times. And now we want to show all the values that have a stem of 3, and once again I'd recommend to cross them out as you're using them up. So in 3 we've got 3.5, we've got a 3.6, and we've got 3.7. And so we're going to have 5, 6, and 7. And then the idea is really just to repeat this. So in the 4s we just have this 4.9. In the 5s we've got this 5.1. In the 6s we've got 6.7. In the 7s we've got just 7.9. And then finally in the 8s we have 8.8. And so there we have it. This would be our stem and leaf display. So I hope this explanation helps. Feel free to keep posting your questions. If you ever have other buddies taking the class and you feel that this video would help them, make sure you tag them in the comments. In the meantime, guys, I hope you keep well, you study well, Row out.